Welcome to another episode from HenRefurb. This episode I'm going to continue cleaning and painting the engine. We're going to have a look at that Seeker Flexed engine mount that I did last episode, see how it's turned out, and then hopefully we'll see if we can get the engine in the chassis and see how it takes the weight. Stay tuned. Right, got those bits that I took off the front of the engine here, so I've just got to clean these up thoroughly, get the gasket off, make new gaskets, that there, and one for this big old bit here, massive great front casting thing. Just got to get it all clean, then bolt it back together, and then I can finish cleaning it with the engine and then paint it in situ. Basically, paint it in situ means that any of the mating faces that overhang slightly, because nothing fits perfectly obviously, and that's not just because it's 90 years old, it's the same on modern cars. If I don't paint those edges and those faces, they will just rust, and so I don't want that, but yeah. Right, so back on the main part of the engine, the block again, I've just got to finish brushing off a few bits of green paint down below. It's basically spotlessly clean now, ready to go. Get those bits brushed off, probably take the valve cover off, and then just prepare it with the acid wash stuff, and it'll be ready for its first coat of black. I'm not going to paint the sump yet, because currently the engine is sat on the sump, so assuming I don't change my mind, I'm thinking what I'll do is paint everything apart from the sump, and then once the engine is eventually mounted in the chassis, I'll paint the sump then while the sump's hanging. Gives me the best chance then of getting everything fitted without ruining the paintwork and whatnot. So yeah, and this core plugs in, so that's ready then. I can just paint all of it now. Right, that main part of the block is super clean and ready to paint. I'm going to paint it now, and then I've got the bell housing at the back and the cover thing at the front, which I'll do separately now, I've decided. But yeah, it was so clean. I was drying it with that blue rag, and the blue rag came off just completely clean still, so I don't think I've ever managed to get an engine that clean before, so I'm quite pleased with myself on that one. But time to get some black paint on the go. Right, the engine has spent the night tack drying. I was going to put another coat on it last night, but it didn't dry quick enough, so now it feels to the touch it's perfect. So it's not, there's no finger drag, but it's ever so slightly soft still, which is ideal. So I'm going to stick a second coat on, because the first coat didn't cover, because some of the casting is a bit speckly, and the higher spots of the speckles are poking through the paint just slightly, so there's like these little tiny sort of silvery dots dotted around. So I think a second coat will get that completely and utterly covered, and it'll be jet black then. So yeah, here we go again. Well, the last coat of black is now on, so basically I'm just monitoring the engine now for a little while, just to make sure that if any naughty little runs appear I can wipe them off, so that it dries perfectly smooth and flat without any horrible marks. Apart from that, that's done. So before too long I'll be able to peel off the masking tape and reveal the nice distinction between the head and the block, which will be cool. And then I'm going to start working on the two big end castings, the bell housing unit and the front thing. The front casting is completely clean and ready for paint, I just haven't had time to do it. And the back, yeah, needs more cleaning. It was filthy. So that's where we're at now. Right, so a week has passed, and I want to have a look at that engine mount that I set in the vise, see how it's doing. There we go. So very, very much set. I mean, to be honest, there's not really a lot I can do looking at this, because, well, I'm not going to be strong enough to do anything with that. I'm going to have to hang something very heavy, like an engine, off it to find out if it's going to work. What I will do, though, is wire wheel off the overspill Sikaflex all around it, clean this up and give it a coat of paint. Right, I've just popped some paint on one side of the engine mount for now, just to keep it safe and rust free for the time being. And so over here, that's the front engine covery thingamajiggy, I don't know, timing cover, whatever you want to call it. Distributor goes in that hole, the crankshaft pulley pokes out that hole, and the rest of it happens inside. That's spotlessly clean. I finished cleaning that last week, and it's just been soaked in oil so it doesn't rust, because it's too clean to be rust proof. Moving on, I need to have a look at this, which is the, I think you'd call it the bell housing. I presume that's what it's called on the Dodge still. Just need to remove the last few bits and bobs that are on it, and over that bracket thing there, and screws, and get this 100% clean. And then I'm going to take both that and that thing over there to my house and paint it at home, because the paint takes about 24 hours before it can have a second coat at the moment in this country, so it's easier for me if it's just at home in my garage. Hey, so it's a new day back at the farm again now, and this piece is dry and glossy and looks amazing, but I've got to have a look at some other bits before I can do anything with this, or rather before I will do anything with this, so I'll show you those first. So today's mission is preparing all of the bits that allow the engine to fit to the chassis. So engine mounts, brackets, nuts, bolts, fixings, all of those bits and bobs need cleaning, degreasing, derusting, repainting, etc, etc. And I'll show you what I've got so far. So we've basically got, that's the left hand engine mount and units. You've got the nuts, bolts, the plate, the big slab of rubber in between, and then all the bracketry that goes to the engine. This one's in bits. This is the right hand one. That's the rubberized mount block which I restored the other day. More metal work, fixings, and then over here we've got the front engine mount, a couple of nuts and bolts and whatever, and then the rubber with the metal, and then there's another metal plate just like that inside this one here. And so I've just got to get all of those completely cleaned. I want to get them in primer, and maybe even if I'm lucky by the end of the day have them in gloss as well. And then, hesitant to say it, but hopefully we'll be getting close, maybe in a week or two, and the engine will be in the chassis. So we'll see how that goes. Well, the sandblaster's being a complete pile of rubbish, so I'm going to have to give up on the sandblasting. I think I need new sand or something. None of the sand I've got's working. It's fogging up. Can't see what I'm doing, so I'm going to give up on that and move on to putting some engine bits back together, and then I'll get some sand on order. And the first piece is going to be the bell housing at the back. Okay, so with the bell housing on, I'm now going to have a look at cleaning up and repainting the oil pump, because the oil pump has to be fitted to the engine before the engine can go in the chassis, because the steering system gets in the way otherwise. So you cannot get to the oil pump or the steering when the engine's in. You have to take the engine out to service either, which is a real clever idea, but yeah, need to do this first as a result. Right. I've made a bit of progress on the sandblasting. I popped to the store and got some new sand, so that's all good. These bits are done and just drying their first coat of primer, which is cool. Next thing I'm doing is still on the oil pump over there, which you can just about see. I need to make a gasket for this end plate, so I'm just going to do that. Right, so I've made a little bit of progress off camera, and I thought I'd better update you with what I've been doing. I believe left-hand engine mount, nuts, washers, whatever, bolts there, all in primer. Over here, right-hand engine mount and all the fixings in there. That's the left-hand actual mount rubber. Oh, and down here, these ones and these ones are actually for the front centre engine mount, which is up here, and that is also done, so I Sikaflex that back together. This one isn't so important because it has the engine's weight sat on top of it, so it's not just going to fall apart. In fact, it was broken and it made no difference to the Dodge anyway, I think. So I'm going to paint them all gloss black like the chassis now. Then basically next time I'm in and they're dry, I can presumably put the engine back together and in the chassis, which would be pretty superb, I think. I have a new mission today, and it is to put that in that. So this involves making some new gaskets and such, so I can put that big casting on the front of the engine with the adapter plate. Without that casting, we've got nothing to put the front engine mount on. And I've just got to assemble the rear engine mounts and fit them to the chassis, basically. And then it's just a case of getting the back of the barn open, which we haven't done in a long time, wheel the chassis out, get the engine suspended sort of, somewhere up in the air, and then we're going to wheel the chassis under the engine, drop her in. I'm not going to build the engine up any further than that because I want to keep it as lightweight as possible, because it's going to be very difficult otherwise not to do damage. So yeah, that is the plan. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so 2 gaskets, one for the outside of the adapter plate and one that goes underneath it. This one's going to have a little bit of trimming once it's on the engine, but it's not clear where it lines up without the engine being there, so it's just easier if I put it all together and trim it once it's together on the outside. The inside has been trimmed to suit, so I don't need to worry about that. Yeah, so just got to make sure that the block is ready and I can put it all back together, hopefully. Okay, that is done. You may have noticed I had to take this back off after I'd put it on, and that is because I had 2 screws left over and I completely forgot. Down around here there's a screw poking through there and there. Those are underneath that timing gear, and the timing gear has those 2 holes in it. You have to put the screws through the timing gear to get them into the sort of back support plate thing. So yeah, anyway, I didn't notice until I put this on that I'd missed those 2. I had to take it back off, put them in, put it back together, job done. So now we prepare for putting this beastie in there. Okay, so I've got these 2 pieces of silicone which I'm going to sandwich together and put underneath the engine mount, and they're going to sit there just in case the Sikaflex glued joint fails. They'll stop the engine mount from falling and damaging the chassis or the paintwork. Basically, it'll just act as a just in case measure. I'm hoping that it won't ever happen, but you can't ever be too sure about these things, so this is precautionary. Okay, go get the other side. Okay, the last one, the front engine mount. Right, now all we need is an engine and some space. So I'm going to try and get the barn's back doors open and get the chassis out of the barn so I can get some space and prepare the engine on the crane in the middle, wheel the thing under and drop it in. So bear with me. There we go. it is in. It was fiddly, but it went very well. Nothing got knocked, nothing got marked, so I got away with that, which is really good. And the engine mounts appear to be doing their job at the moment, so we'll just have to see how that goes. Only time will tell, but so far so good. I'm very happy with this. This is a great bit of progress. Rolling chassis with an engine. I could probably show you a before photo like this now, almost anyway. Well, that's me done for now. Thanks for watching. Next episode I'm going to be looking at the engine's ancillaries, so stripping down things like the carburetor, water pump, distributor, whatever, bits and bobs like that. So if you've got any questions or suggestions, pop them in the comment section below. Otherwise, see you next time.